Hello, welcome to Gentle Yoga at Noon. We're in the community room of the ACC, and I'm Jeani, your guide for the next hour. We are continuing our practice. We have about a 5-10 minute warm-up. We include a three walking meditation round before we start on a balancing pose or two. And then we'll make our way down to the floor. I have a chair behind me that you can use if you're not ready to get down to the mat, especially during our cool down period. You're welcome to stay in Shavasana on the chair, or just use the chair as a prop as well to make your way down if that helps you. I would suggest having some blocks if you have issues meeting the distance. They really help. And I've been starting some of our walking meditations with the blocks already in hand, so if you need to use that, have the blocks at the back of the mat, but typically, you can also have them at the top when we go into our first half lift. Anyhow, we will start at the back of the mat. And I will start the music, so giving yourselves just a chance to arrive. Let's go ahead and just notice ourselves in our home base of mountain. You don't need to change anything, just be here. You feel the mat under the feet. You may notice how the legs feel. If they're tight, keep a gentle bend to the knees, deeper if it's very tight. And try to relax your arms. And notice how the heart is beating in the heart basket. We'll begin cultivating our breath first. Bringing our left palm to rest on our chest, right palm under the belly button. Begin to focus a little more on your inhale, bringing a pause after the inhale, and then the exhale. Another pause before you start this breath cycle once more. And as we're first arriving, it may take a little bit, maybe a few breaths, just to smooth it out. You may notice the hand at the chest lifting at the top of the inhale. And as you slowly begin to exhale, engage the core at the bottom of the exhale. Bring in the belly hand to help remind you. We'll be breathing through the nose unless otherwise noted. And to finish cultivating the breath, think about opening the space above the voice box, the back of the throat, to bring a sound like a deep sigh, like an ocean wave. Now that you're connected to your deeper, slower yogic breath, we'll go ahead and bring our hands down to the side. Making note that you have your feet about hips distance apart. We'll start cultivating the breath and the body movement. Let's go ahead and inhale next. Start to draw the energy from the feet all the way up through the legs to the crown of the head. And on the exhale, that energy reverse direction back down to the earth, fully rooted, or a little more rooted at the bottom of the exhale. With the inhale next, we can start to tip our weight towards our toes. At the very edge of that breath, at the top, you're done, and hopefully we can use the next breath to slowly bring the center of gravity at the soles of our feet towards the heels. Again, a slight tipping sensation at the bottom of the exhale. And for the next breath cycle or two, just get a feel for how the center changes at your feet as you inhale and you exhale. Once you get that connection at the feet, from heel to toe, we'll meet at the center. Imagine the center of gravity now at the top of the ankles, nearer to the heels. Take the next inhale, start to feel that uplifting feeling all the way up the body, through to the crown of the head and beyond. And then with the exhale, start to roll slightly your weight at the feet towards the outer right edge. Notice how that feels in the body. Fully exhaled all the way to the right. Inhale to the center for a 3-part breath, exhaling to the other side, or just inhale and exhale, 2-part breath, to find that horizontal mapping at the feet. Notice how the slow, slight change in your center translates in the body. You might be able to feel some stiffness you hadn't been aware of before. And after a moment or two, we'll meet back at center once more, top of the ankles, near to the heels, dropping into our mountain. Inhale, resetting once more, lifting all the way through the body to the crown of the head. Start making small circles at the ankles. Let those small circles radiate outward toward the perimeter of your feet, paying attention to the direction of the circular motion. And when you find the edge of your feet clearly connected, go ahead and start to tighten in those circles. Bring it on in towards the center once more at the ankles. And we'll drop on in. Take the next inhale, lifting upwards once more. And now in the opposite direction, we're making the same small circles at the ankles. Radiating outwards once more. Just takes a few breath cycles. And then we'll tighten in the circles once we've identified the perimeter. And meet back at center. All right, go ahead and lift your toes, lift your heels, reset the mountain once more. And we'll go ahead and start thinking about gentle movements at the feet, at the ankles, at the hips. So we're going to start to pivot out the toes just slightly as we're giving some motion of shifting the weight from side to side. And then as you shift that weight, you can start to feel at the hips maybe a twisting, a gentle turning, swiveling, and the torso may move. The arms are nice and relaxed, but just that momentum of turning at the torso might give your arms a little bit of momentum. If you have that nice loose feeling, you might have more of the arms tapping at the sides of the body as you face more and more of the side. Be sure to lift the toes with more of the torso going to one side. Lift the toes of that side so that we don't hurt our knees. And once that's in and you find some movement in these major joints, go ahead and let that energy peter out, diminish until we're back at home base in mountain. Bring in the toes, heel to toe alignment, reset the mountain once more if you need. Shake out any residual activation of muscles. You can gently bend the knees, shake out the shoulders, wrists, and then we'll move on up to our shoulder rolls. Now, hopefully at this point, we've got more of our tailbone tucking under and a feeling of lengthening through the legs, a slight internal rotation of our thighs. Feel those balls of the big pads under the big toe. Feel that gently pressing inward. And then we'll bring our palms to face forward. Inhale, shoulders lift towards the ceiling. Exhale, roll them back and down. We're a total of 4 breath cycles to feel release in the shoulders with these lifts up and roll back of the shoulder girdle. And use your yogic breath. See if you can help that slow, deep breath to facilitate the release. And after your first set, we're going to go ahead and continue on with a second set. Inhaling shoulders up, but this time rolling them forward and down. Keep melting those shoulder blades back, down the back, tucking into the mid-back at the bottom of the exhale. And your core should be slightly engaged. Help to keep that torso, the upper body, nicely balanced on the pelvic bowl, the lower body. And when you're done with that last rep, we'll go ahead and shake out any residual tension there. Even in the legs, even in the feet. Go ahead and lift a foot or two if you happen to have a tendency to grip the mat. We'll continue on to the neck and the head. Inhaling, feeling that string at the crown of the head lifting all the way up, pressing downward through our legs as we're feeling uplifted in the torso. Go ahead and exhale. Let the right ear dip towards the right shoulder. Both shoulders stay in line. And then exhale. Turn the gaze if you haven't already. Taking the 3 to 4 breath cycles to feel release on the left side. Connect to your yogic breath. Help facilitate energy in through the inhale. And help the release as you exhale slowly. Engaging the core at the bottom of the exhale. And let the eyes drift towards the right side of the vision. With each exhale, you may find your last one at the rightmost of your periphery. And then go ahead and inhale the eyes, the gaze, the top of the head towards the ceiling. So all you have to do is exhale over to the other side gently. Inhaling, our sternum should lift. Exhaling, turning the gaze. And using the next 4 breath cycles to help facilitate the release on this side. Making sure the shoulders, the hips, the ankles, they're all evenly distributing the weight. And you're not leaning over to this side or that. And it helps to keep the palms facing forward to help relax the shoulder blades down the back and the balls of the shoulders nice and rotated away from the ears. And after that last exhale, go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head all the way back up to center. And exhale, let the eyes float down to the top of the mat. Nice space between the chin and the chest. And again, that inhale should be an upward feeling, slightly tilted at the crown of the head. And on the exhale, still feeling that strong column of support of the body. Tucking the tailbone under. Feeling firmly rooted, especially at the bottom of your exhale. And again, 4 breath cycles to help us all along through our warm-up here. And after the very last exhale, inhale the eyes back towards the midline, past the midline, and see if you can see the ceiling. Once you can, go ahead and stop craning the back of the neck and use the next 4 breath cycles here to open up through the front of the throat, the mouth, to soften your brow line, maybe even the scalp. You can make a small O opening. You can make it a little larger. You can gently close the mouth slightly and just let the lower jaw gently sway from side to side. And again, still breathing through the nose. notice how the feet, the foundation are. Be sure not to roll out or in. Even distribution at the foundation. And after the very last exhale, we'll go ahead and bring the eyes back down to center. Go ahead and shake out any residual activation of muscles in the lower part of the body, especially the legs. Lift up a foot, bend a knee. And then we'll go ahead and start energizing before we move on with our walking meditation. Energizing the fingers downward. We're inhaling extended arms upwards. And at the top, we'll start to fold. Exhale, stick the tailbone back. Start to come down with a straight back, hinging at the hips. Take it slow or just float on down, walk on down. We're coming to our first forward fold. And if you're super tight, if you've been active through the week, just give yourself some time here. It's our first lengthy forward fold. We've got about 5 breath cycles here. And you may need to have a deep bend to the knees if you're especially tight in the knee area, in the hips. You may need to support the upper body with the forearms. You might have more of a half lift position. And you're just giving your body the opportunity to unfold. Hopefully the upper body is getting just a natural traction with nature. As you release from the tailbone down, the spine, even to the crown of the head. Notice if you're holding on to the weight of your head, you can gently sway the head from side to side. You can nod the head yes. You can just let the center of your head, the crown, kind of dangle like a plumb line. You want to have that deep, supportive hold from the hips down to the heels. And again, knees can be bent deeply if you need. But if you can straighten the legs, that's good too. Remember your yogic breath. That'll help you to relax and to stretch out. You may have your rib cage expand sideways, even in this fold, as you inhale. And then as we come out of our first lengthy ragdoll of a fold, we're going to engage our core, step into the feet, and inhale. Start to roll up slowly, one vertebra at a time. You can even walk your hands up your body, but try to feel that load in your feet, in your legs, squeezing the glutes, so that the very last thing to stack on the neck is the head. Give yourself a moment or two here to let the blood rush back to the head. And we'll do that a second time. Nice and relaxed our arms. And then inhale, reach downward and extend the arms up. Exhale, engage the core, hinge at the hips, stick the tailbone back, and fold. Float on down, walk the hands down, and come on down for a second fold. This time, about 3 breath cycles long. And again, try to find that support from the hips down to the heels, while the tailbone down the spine, down the neck to the crown of the head, hopefully relaxes. Chest a little closer to the thighs. And feel as if your knees are not bowing outwards, but just nice and forward. You might find an intent to internally rotate those thighs will help you to keep that alignment. And then we're going to come back. You can do the slow roll up once more, or you can come up with a straight back, but either way, we engage our core. And inhaling, stepping into the feet, firming the legs. Come on up. If you can bring your hands together in prayer and reach all the way up, that's fine. And then exhale, hands down, heart center. And we'll begin our walking meditation. Inhaling, bring standing weight to the left side of the body, left foot. See if you can lift the right heel. And if you can't, just keep a nice steady contact with the ball of the foot. But if you can raise that foot on an inhale and then step it forward, doesn't have to be big, but go ahead, exhale the heel or the midfoot, ball of foot, and then toes. Get that standing weight to the right leg. You can launch with the left foot if you need to, gently. But if you have that standing balance, go ahead and bring the left foot up and step that forward on the exhale. Inhaling, right foot lifts. Exhaling that right foot down. It's a slow, methodical walk, one full breath cycle per step. And if you have to fall out and tap down, that's okay. Come on back. Engage your core, press into the palms. And we'll meet at the top of the mat. Looking down at our fingertips and mountain here. Press into the palms and watch the fingertips rise on the inhale. At the top, we separate our palms and get ready to fold. Exhaling, engaging the core, sticking the tailbone back. Come on down to a third fold. Fully exhaled at the bottom of the exhale. Engage the core. Press into wherever your hands are, be they on the knees, the thighs, shins, the blocks. And come into a half fold position, lengthening through the legs as is available, or keep that bend. But we're trying to look down as we lengthen from the tailbone to the crown of the head, best that we can. And then exhale, just let the torso relax towards the thighs, towards your fold. And if you have your blocks there, you can place your hands there if that helps on a lower setting. We're going to put our hands to either side of the feet. We can bend your knees deeply to get down there. Step back. You might have one long step all the way back with one leg and then another long step back with the other, or you might have to take many little tiny steps. But we're bringing the legs to the back of the mat and then inhaling, shoulders over the wrist for our first high plank, but we'll modify by bringing down the shins, not our kneecaps, but the shins, and then opening up at the ankles if we can. And here, giving ourselves about 5 breath cycles to check out our alignment and how we're feeling. See if the tops of the ankles, the shins can support the lower body. And if you need a little less of a 90-degree angle at the wrists, you can always walk the hands up, or you can tuck the toes and bring the knees back. But we're going to try to feel the upper body being strongly supported by extended arms, protracted shoulder blades, nice and long, from the shins to the crown of the head, a slight diagonal. And pressing the tops of the feet or tucked toes just gently to hold up. And make sure the palms, give them a good splay of the fingers, and that the palms are not bearing all the weight in the heel of the palm, but all throughout each portion, even the fingertips, even the space between the digits, the knuckles. And all the while, your core is engaged. We don't want a loose belly. We want a nice firm belly. And it's been about 5 breath cycles, so let's go ahead. Tuck the toes, lift up the hips on the inhale. Exhale, press the hips back into your first down dog. And here, make your adjustments. If you notice your feet are a little narrow, bring them about hips distance apart. Your head should be somewhat in between your upper arms and the fingers still splayed. And imagine the tailbone lifting up towards the ceiling while you're bearing down through the arms and down through the legs. Give yourself this idea of an upside down V and try to make your shape somewhat in that position the best that you can. The hips can lift up, and you can come up to the balls of the feet if you'd like, and then slowly lower the heels downwards. See if that helps you to lengthen through the back of the legs a little more. You may need to shorten that stance between the hands and the feet, but make yourself as comfortable as you can in an upside down V shape goal in your first down dog. And we stay here about 5 breath cycles as well. And we're at least halfway through, I feel. So give yourself any other simple movements. You can always bend one knee, alternate with the other leg, bend the other knee, straighten both, or just bend and straighten
alternately. You can walk your dog, in other words. And if your heels are all the way down on the mat, consider pigeon toeing the toes inward, rotating those thighs inward, really, to help you get into a nice deep down dog. But do what you can, where you can. With the next inhale, roll your eyes towards the hands, and then exhale, bending the knees if you need. We're going to walk our hands, our torso, to the back of the mat. And keeping bent knees really helps to come back to the fold. Pressing into the belly to fold. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And then again, firm up the foundation at the feet, the belly, and we're going to come up one vertebra at a time. Slow roll up if you like, or with a straight back. Inhaling all the way up, pressing into our feet, rooting downward as we're stretching upwards. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. Let's go ahead and move into our second walking meditation. Standing weight to the left side of the body, lifting the right foot when we're ready. Start with the heel if you need, or just hover the foot and step it forward. Exhaling on the ball of the foot or the heel. And then when you're ready there, you can bring the left foot forward on the inhale, exhaling that down. One full breath cycle per step. If you want to challenge yourself, imagine stepping suspended in the air just slightly, or make a larger step forward. Or if you're working on your balance, just tiny steps. Small lifting of just the sole of the foot is all that's needed. And when we meet at the top of the mat in our mountain, let's go ahead and look at the fingertips pressing into the palms. Lift our arms upwards, extending. Separate the palms, and on the exhale, we fold. Sticking the tailbone back, straight back. Walking hands down if you need. And we're going to inhale, half lift. Place your hands wherever they are, on the shins, on the floor, on the blocks. Lengthen from the tailbone to the crown of the head, and then exhale, fold. Bringing the hands to either side of the feet or on the blocks, low setting. Step one foot back and then the other. Take many steps if you need. Bring your shoulders over the wrists on the inhale and stand in high plank for the next 3 breath cycles here. And we're engaging our core, feeling, let's see, energy points from the shoulders down to the palms, from the heels down to the balls of the feet, and a third energy line from the heels to the crown of the head. And after your last exhale, inhale, the hips up, exhale, press them back. Press into your hands, your extended arms, to come into a full down dog. Keeping the knees bent if you need. If you've gotten any tight hamstrings, Achilles heels, calves, you just need to stretch those out with bent knees and lengthen through the legs as is available. And notice if your elbows are starting to pivot outward, we really want those elbows able to bend back towards the back of the mat. Keep the shoulders rotated away from the ears. Keep the head somewhat in between the upper arms. And we're here for about 3 breath cycles. You can walk your dog. And then on the next inhale, let's bring our eyes towards the hands. Keep a bend to the knees if you need, and we walk the hands to the back of the mat, to the fold. Fully exhaled in the fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, come up, your choice, slow roll up or straight back.
but grow all the way up, pressing into the feet, rooting down on that exhale, inhaling, and then exhale, hands down, heart center. Another walking meditation, forward, standing weight to the left side. Inhale, right foot up, exhale it down. Inhale, left foot up, exhale that down. Take your time, do what you can. But one full step forward per breath cycle. Meeting at the top of the mat. Looking down at the fingertips and mountain. Pressing into the palms, inhaling the hands up. Separating the palms, exhale. Hinging at the hips, engaging the core, folding. Fully exhaled. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Bring the hands down. Step one foot. Another foot. Many steps are one each. Back the mat or feet, and then inhale, shoulders over the wrists. Another high plank. Engage your belly button. Make sure it's sticking to the spine and the core is engaged. Nice blade, strong arms here and fingers. And after your last breath cycle, we go ahead and lift the hips and exhale them back to down dog. 3 breath cycles here as well. Do any movement that feels good to you, or just do your dog. But engage your yogic breath. Help it facilitate your pose as you move through this. And then inhale, look towards the hands. Keep a bend to the knees if you need. And walk the hands to the back of the mat, to your fold. Fully exhaled here. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, your choice. Come on up. Exhaling, hands down, heart center, and down to the side. And then give yourself any movement that you'd like. Take a water break. We're going to move into our balancing pose. I've been using a chair to kind of reach out just in case you lose balance. And all we're doing in this balance pose is just trying to stabilize our standing leg, and keeping the center through the column of the entire body, but stabilizing those muscles needed on the standing leg, while the other leg gets a little lighter. Usually we start with our meditation, walking meditation on the left side, so we're going to switch that up so we can give a little counterbalance here. Move this chair just a little closer. And just in case, you can also use the wall, the bar, but we want to have a resetting of our mountain. See if you've got more of your tail bone tucked under, the hips distance apart about a square foot at the feet, even distribution of weight. You shouldn't feel an outer rolling or inner rolling of the feet, or heel to toe for that matter. Just a nice even distribution if you can. Engage the glutes slightly, and then we'll go ahead and start bringing standing weight to the right side of the body. Just a subtle shift, such that you can just feel that lifting light feeling on the left foot, left leg. And if you can lift the heel without disturbing that standing support, see if you can just lift the ball of that left foot. We're not jutting out our right hip. We want to keep this nice long stability here. See if you could just hover that foot. If you can do that and that's not a problem, then go ahead and bend the knee, lift the foot higher. If you want to just see if you can balance on one side, just hover that foot. Flex the left foot and hover. Try to keep your body still. If you have to tap down with the left toes, the left ball of foot, that's fine. Engage your core too, because that really helps to keep everything up here stable as you're focusing on stabilizing the entire body and balancing. And then we can bring that left foot down. You could do the ball of foot and then the heel, and bring the weight back evenly between both sides of the body. You'll notice there's probably a lot of engagement on the right side still, so see if you can release that. You can bend the knee, you can roll the ankle a little bit. If you can stand on the left side and you have that balance, go ahead and kick out just slightly. It doesn't have to be a big movement. Kick out in front, kick out to the same side as that leg before you cross the midline. Take another deep breath or two, and we'll start on the other side. Resetting our mountain once more, bringing standing weight now to the left side of the body. Feel your foot. If you have a tendency to roll out, bring that ball of foot right under the big toe down. Engage the inner thigh of that left leg. Squeeze the left glute a little more than the right. And then see if you've got that standing position so that you can just lift the right heel, maybe the entire sole of the foot, maybe the knee. Do what you can where you can. We're just concerned with balancing on the left side of the body now, left foot. And if you need to just practice that and keep your right toes down or ball of the foot and just focus on stabilizing on this leg, you could do that as well. Do what you can. And once you've got that sweet spot, please breathe for 3 breath cycles. Give yourself that chance to find the balance and maintain it. And if you fall out, that's okay. Just get back in where you can. You may find that one side is stronger than the other. Just something to note. And then we'll bring that foot down. You can do the toes, you can do the ball of the foot, you can do the heel. And then bring standing weight to both sides. Balance out that standing weight. And then release. Do any counter movement that feels good. I like to roll the ankles, especially if they feel stiff. But sometimes having that nice kick out to release up at the glute. Alrighty, let's see how we're doing with time. We're going to start to make our way down to the floor. And you can stay in the chair if that's more comfortable for you, but we're going to meet in our staff position. And if you have blocks and you're in the chair, I suggest bringing the blocks with you so that you can have your foot on a block if you need to, as we move into bending the knee while we're in our staff position. Now, I'm just going to demonstrate here if you're, and I'll do it from the side, because you can do your staff position from the side of the chair and keep your arm wrapped around the back of the chair to help stabilize you. But we want our sits bones, the bottom of your pelvic bowl, those little protuberances that feel stiff there, right at the edge, either at the front or the side, whatever feels better for you. And if you have that block, you would bring it down to your foot on near one of your feet. But we're going to sit at the edge, or we're sitting on the mat, and we're just slowly lengthening through the legs, trying to find that contact point if you're on the mat of the thigh and the calf down to the mat, or just lengthening out through here in the chair. And you can flex your foot slightly. Feet can be about hips distance apart. And just keep in mind that the reason why you're sitting on your sits bones is to keep your pelvic bowl in a neutral position so that you can keep the spine upright in there. We don't want to sit on our tailbone, and hopefully we don't have such a protuberance, a forward tilt of our pelvic bowl that our chest is sticking out. We just want to sit straight into there. You can always hold on to the side if you need. But once you've got your staff position ready, and you can always tap out the knees if you find that the knees are really lifting and the calves are up and off as well as the thighs. But just give yourself some time to come into your staff position. Engaged core is key to, once more, balance the upper body on that pelvic bowl. And then when we get a chance, we're going to bring the left foot closer to our groin. Now you may only bring it to the to the calf if you're down in your staff on the mat, or maybe to the thigh, or maybe you have your heel close to your buttock. Maybe wherever you are on this trunk line, you're just going to stand there or sit there. And let me just demonstrate with the block in case you're on the If you can bring your foot, bend the knee, but you can bring it even closer. Just think about placing a block under there to help to bring this closer, so you can have a deeper flexion if you're in the chair here. But as you bring your knee closer in your staff position, if you notice that your lower back starts to curve, then you've gone a little too far. You may need to straighten out the leg just a little more. We want to try to keep upright best that we can. And if you're able to, you can hug that knee in. If you have no issues with bending that knee and bringing the foot closer to the buttock area, then go ahead and give it a nice little hug with your left arm. Now I'll move on down to the other side. When you're in the chair and we move to the other side, you can turn around if you'd like, or you could just place the block on the other side, and we'll do the same thing while you're in the chair. But coming down to the floor, I'll join you in staff. And bringing that knee as close as possible. And I'm really stiff here, so that's about as far as I can go with bending the knee, but my back is really curving here. So sitting up higher than the knee level is key to helping to transition to this pose. Making sure that we're bringing our chest upwards, trying to keep a nice relaxed state of our right leg that's long, and eventually the left as well. If you find your toes are lifting, see if you can relax them downward. And once you find your sweet spot, just breathe for 5 good breath cycles here. If you can, keep your torso upright. You can wrap your arm around the knee if you can't to help you maintain that position. But again, think about the crown of the head lifting upwards, the whole upper body, torso being nice and long, straight, sitting upwards, best that you can. And that's probably been a long enough time, so we'll come on out. You'll bring your hands to the sides maybe, start to inch that foot forward. You can curve the lower back, and then come on over to the other side. And again, if you're in the chair doing your staff, work on lengthening your leg on one side and bringing a bend to your other leg, and see where that can go. If you can bring it directly under the knee, you may consider bringing the block under the foot to help raise the knee higher so that you can maybe eventually hug it while you're sitting in the chair. But right now my staff looks really stiff on this side, and that's okay. Wherever you are, you're eventually bringing your heel closer to the groin, to the buttock area, as is available as you start to open up through the hip. You can always hug in to that knee, that shin, to help you in that transition. And once you've found that sweet spot, it's about 5 breath cycles there. So hopefully you're keeping track of the breath. Nice and slow. Inhale, a pause. Exhale, pause. Nice and slow breath cycles. The longer you stay in that position, as your body relaxes with each exhale, you may find activated muscles slowly releasing. You may find just an easier time sitting in your position with ease, steadiness, and comfort. Check on the time here. Then we'll go ahead and release that leg long once more. Now, if you're able to on the chair, we're going to move into a deer. So if you're on the side, it may be easier to move to the front of the chair at this point to do your deer. But if you're down on the floor, we're going to bend both knees, walk the hands back a little bit. You can bend your elbows if you need. And if you're on a block like I am, that's fine. You can stay there if you'd like, or you can remove the block. But all we're going to do is just allow the knees to drop gently to one side and just hold it there. You're just, if you notice, rolling on the side of your feet to that same side you're windshield wiping to. You can bend the elbows, see if that helps you maintain a deeper fold. And as we inhale back to center, exhale on over to the other side. You can again bend the elbows if you need. And then we'll bring the knees back up. Remove the block if you're on it. Keep it nearby. If you're on the chair, all we're going to do at this point is bring your feet, if you're in the front of the chair, hopefully at this time, bring your knees to the front. And then you're just going to pivot, turn your torso. We start on the floor by bringing the feet to the side and eventually splitting the knees so that we can bring this back leg back. And if you can do that on the chair, you probably want to have a hold of the chair seat so you don't fall out. But all we're doing is simply allowing the, I guess in this case, my left foot is, the front one is more of a parallel shin position, and the back, the thigh with the leg with the foot behind you, we're not flexing it, we want to point it back towards the back. And we're just getting that opening between the knees. And eventually, if you're able to just keep a nice straight torso up here, and then exhale, slowly twist as you lower down to the side. If you're in the chair, you can only lower down so much. You don't have to do it much at all. If you're on the floor, you have a little more mobility, a little more space. Now, if you can find support for your rib cage, you're welcome to do that. Or you can just have it hovering in the air slightly, and we're going to be bending our elbows. Hopefully you can bring your forearms down, one and then the other. And you do what you can where you can. If you can't go any further, just stay there. You don't need to make it all the way down to the floor. You might have a supported block or a blanket rolled up to help support that rib cage. You might be all the way down with the forehead resting on your forearms, your hands. You may have the chest on the floor. Wherever you are, you go into your deer as deeply as you can so that you can find maybe an extension of the arm to get more of a stretch on that right side, or the side that you're not twisting into, that limb all the way from that right hip to the right hand, as we're deer twisting to the left. And remember, your yogic breath, even in this twisted state, try to give yourself that
Deep inhale, best that you can. You get a nice belly massage of all the internal organs. Your rib cage, those really, strong intercostal muscles that don't get much movement sometimes, you'll get a nice stretch. You may hear a nice little snap, crackle, pop of the spine, giving yourself just some release. And if you're holding onto your head in these last few breath cycles, we're just going to hopefully support the head if it's lifted. You can have your hands doing it. You can have a block. Just depends on how high up you are and what you need. And if you have glasses, try to remove them so you don't have that imprint. But again, once you find that sweet spot, we're working on 5 to 10 breath cycles just to release. And if your twist is as deep as you need it, you may even turn the gaze just a little more, and you'll get all of that gentle twisting, hopefully, but don't force it. Your face could just look straight down. It can be at, the same or the opposite side of your torso there. Do what you can, where you can. And wherever you are, once you find that edge, of course, you want to make sure you're connected to the yogic breath. It's a beautiful thing, especially as you're passing through the very last breath cycles, to just hear the ocean at the back of the throat. Maybe that'll help you to release. When you're ready to come out, because we've been here for a while, you'll lift the head. You'll start to bring the hands, the forearms, underneath the shoulder area. Start to lift up the torso, and then bring the torso as one unit with the head towards the front, and come back to your sort of base bridge position. You're going to bring that back foot up towards the other foot, and come back to your base bridge position that has an upright torso, or just roll over to the other side. See what works for you, but we're once more just splitting the space between our knees, bringing this back leg behind us, not having a flexed foot, but pointing that foot away from you as we have that. Now in my case, my right shin is down, parallel, as my left knee is right about at the heel of my right foot. You can make that space wider if that's available to you. It's just whatever you're comfortable with. And eventually, if your hips are not so tight, you might even have both hip bones down on the floor, but it's okay if the top hip is lifted. And then we're just getting that nice straight torso with the head in the same position before we start to slowly lower the torso towards your twisted side. Maybe the elbow comes down. Maybe you just stay in this up position of the torso. Wherever you're working towards eventually getting down closer to the floor. You may need to bring your props with you. Finding your edge eventually. And then giving yourself 5 to 10 breath cycles there once you reach that edge. Connecting to the yogic breath, the sound of the ocean. If you have your arm extended, you can plant the palm flat. Kind of traction that to help you feel just a slight lengthening all the way from that top hip to that hand on the floor. In my case right now, it's my left. And after your last exhale, to come out, we're going to lift the head gently. Start to walk the hands, forearm underneath the shoulders, and just lift the torso. Once you're there, we'll start to walk the hands over so we can return to center. Bring the torso back. Bring that left foot, the back leg, back towards the foot that was on the floor, or that was the top leg. Come back to your base bridge, upright position. Make ready for final Shavasana. I'm going to sit upright, but in your final Shavasana, you want to think about laying down flat. You may think about supporting the under part of your knees or the lower back area with a blanket, or just keep the knees bent if that helps with that compression at the lower back. But as you lengthen one leg at a time, and if you find that the knee is very tented and the calf is lifted, give yourself a nice lengthening of inhaling, extending out through the heel, and then just relax that leg. And then you can do the same with the other leg. You can give yourself any last minute, maybe arm overhead extension, pointing of the toes, flexing of the feet, wiggling of the fingers, tapping out of the knees. Do whatever that helps you to relax. You may need a blanket over you. Whatever your favorite way of getting into Shavasana is, we'll meet you there. And for the next few minutes, allow the body to respond. Give yourself any time to acknowledge thoughts coming up. But if you need to, just return to the breath. Let it go and return to the breath afterwards. When you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken.
bring the mind back to the body, taking notice sounds outside the room, within the room, and finally back to the breath. As you reconnect to the body vessel once more, you can wiggle your fingers, toes, you can rock your limbs. We'll find our way to an upright seated position of your choice. You can sit in Padasana, one leg out in front of the other in an easy seated pose of some kind. You can sit kneeling if you'd like. We're going to bring a little energy back into the body with our breath of fire, and it helps to firm up the core. I've found that over the years it's been better at developing my core strength than all the crunches I ever used to do before or sit-ups. And it's very safe, and it allows you to hopefully strengthen anything in the perineum area. So what I want you to think about is on the exhale as we're shooting out, you're holding your core tightly, you're like pumping your stomach on the exhale. So you don't really have to worry about an inhale. We're keeping the nose closed, but we're breathing through the nose, but we're keeping the lips a little pursed and shooting the air on the exhale out through these pursed lips. And in that way, think about keeping a hold of the perineum as well. As our very last exhale, we'll do about 10 of these, 2 rounds of 10, and as we exhale, I want you to think about lifting up your perineum, that pelvic floor where you're cutting off the urination stream, if you will. And we're going to then tuck our chin and feel the energy sort of trapped between our groin area and our throat for about 3 to 4 seconds. And if you have to breathe sooner, that's fine. You don't have to hold it for that long. But go ahead and take a nice deep inhale. And then pursing through the lips just slightly, we're going to shoot out, and hopefully I'll keep time with my hands. Beginning now. Fully exhaled, pull up the pelvic floor, slightly tuck the chin, and hold the breath for about 3 to 4 seconds. And then release. You may feel you actually lowering down, relaxing a little bit. And then we'll do a second set. Taking a deep breath in. Go ahead and start. Fully exhaled, engage the core, pull up the pelvic floor, chin tuck, and hold the breath for about 3 to 4 seconds. And then release. Let everything just return to its natural state. We're starting off with 10, but you can work your way up to 20. You can typically do 30. Some really devoted practitioners of breath of fire do 60 to 120. But either way, you can hopefully feel that isolation of your abdominals as they're pumping through. So anyhow, we'll bring hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining me here at the ACC Community Room. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.